I call Dennis O'Rourke.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'm also proud to say that New Zealand First, always the voice of calmness and reason and good sense in this House, will support the Royal Succession Bill. We don't see that there is any need whatsoever to launch into a debate about republicanism as a result of any consideration of this particular bill. We're very pleased to leave that to the Roundheads and the Cavaliers in the various parts of the House that we've heard those sorts of sentiments come from so far today. Nor do we think there is any reason to start launching into a debate about the Treaty of Waitangi and whether indeed it has any part in the constitutional arrangements of New Zealand at all, or if so, what they should be. In fact, the bill has got a very narrow focus and only does three things. And I might say that the Justice and Electoral Committee worked very hard to see that it did keep a very narrow focus, despite some quite provocative submissions made to it during the course of its deliberations. Mr Speaker, the Royal Succession Bill is a modernising bill. It takes only a few small steps forward, but they are steps forward, and we should see them at that. And the first one is gender-neutral succession, which is correct in principle, although the New Zealand First spokesperson on Women's Affairs tells me that she thinks that the change should be a little further, that it should be for a woman-only succession. However, that's not New Zealand First policy, and New Zealand First policy is in fact for gender-neutral succession, so we certainly support that aspect of the bill. It reflects what the public expects, and it's been needed for some time. It's good to see that happening at this stage. The second and much more difficult provision in the bill relating to the possession of the Crown by a person who marries or who has married a Roman Catholic, removing that exclusion is also a step forward. We understand that many say that the Crown itself should be able to be held by a Roman Catholic or indeed by a person of any other religion. But New Zealand First does understand that we are only one of 16 realms concerned with these particular new provisions, and that for the historical reasons that we are all very, very well aware of, it's not appropriate for us down here in New Zealand to seek changes any further than that which is proposed. That is in fact something for the United Kingdom. If it gets around to making those changes, then I'm sure many people in this country would welcome it. But it's simply not feasible or sensible or possible to promote those sorts of sentiments at this stage, and the bill does not do that. That's not within its scope. The last provision, of course, requires something which is just common sense. Currently, all descendants of King George III require the sovereign's consent to marry. And there probably have already been many occasions where that consent has not been obtained, because there must be hundreds of people who are covered by the current provision. It's just common sense that we have a new provision that only the first 6 in line to the throne will need to seek such consent. And that's just a carry-on from the need for a carry-on from the provision which requires the Crown to be the head of the Church of England. So we see this as just a common sense bit of legislation. We don't see any need whatsoever to look at republicanism or the place of the treaty or things which are clearly and obviously well outside the scope of the bill. I don't mind hearing some light-hearted debate about the matter, but it actually is quite a serious issue. It's been well thought through. It's been agreed by the 16 realms. There are some pretty sensible provisions made. All three of these are sensible. They're moving in the right direction. We should have no objection whatsoever to this bill. I'm therefore a little bit disappointed that the Greens don't see it in that way and can't vote for it. It is just common sense. and it would have been good if the House had been able to reach full consensus on the matter. So I regret that that's not going to be possible. New Zealand First has no difficulties with the legislation whatsoever and will vote for it.
I call Raymond Ho.